Have you ever felt that icy grip of doubt? That whisper in the back of your mind telling you something's off, even when everything seems fine? What if I told you that the ground beneath your relationship might be crumbling? Not with a bang, but with the silent, insidious erosion of everyday moments you've completely overlooked. Infidelity doesn't begin with a grand, dramatic gesture in a dark alley or a clandestine hotel room. It starts far more subtly, often in plain sight, in places so innocent, so mundane, that no one, especially not you, would ever suspect them. Imagine for a moment. She's right there, under your roof, sharing your life. Yet her desire, her emotional landscape, is already being cultivated elsewhere by someone or something that has captured the part of her you've slowly, perhaps unknowingly, abandoned. This isn't about blaming. It's about revealing the raw, uncomfortable truth that most men simply refuse to see until it's too late. It's about the 7 unsuspecting places where the seeds of betrayal are sown, growing into an emotional chasm that can swallow your relationship whole. And trust me, the last one, that's the real gut punch, the one that will make you question everything you thought you knew. I'm Celia, and this isn't for the faint of heart, or for men who prefer to live in blissful ignorance. This is for the courageous few, the ones ready to rip off the blindfold, reclaim their presence, and stop being mere spectators in the gradual, agonizing replacement of their own role. Stay with me until the very end. What you're about to hear might not only change the way you see your woman, but also the man staring back at you in the mirror. This is Stoic love, and we believe in facing the truth, no matter how uncomfortable, to build something genuinely strong and lasting. The silent gym, where desire awakens. Have you noticed a shift lately? Perhaps your woman seems to be putting more effort into her appearance, meticulously planning her outfits or spending extra time on her hair and makeup, not for a special occasion, but for her everyday routine. And has the gym, that place she once barely mentioned, suddenly become a sacred, almost non-negotiable part of her schedule? If so, pay close attention. This isn't just about health, and it's certainly no coincidence. You've just landed on the first and often earliest point where the delicate threads of fidelity begin to unravel: the silent gym. This space, seemingly dedicated to physical wellness and self-improvement, often conceals a much deeper, far more intimate search. We're not talking about the pursuit of fitness or burning calories here. We're talking about the silent awakening of desire, the quiet yearning to feel seen, to feel wanted, to feel alive again. For years, a woman might have felt invisible in her own home, her identity slowly merging with the roles of wife, mother, homemaker. The gym, in this context, becomes more than just a place to lift weights or sweat on a treadmill. It transforms into a stage. Imagine a woman who, after years of feeling overlooked, steps into this environment. It's a vibrant, often testosterone-filled space, brimming with energy, with bodies on display, and a constant undercurrent of glances and subtle appraisals. She isn't merely there to work out her muscles. She's there, perhaps unconsciously, to see if she can still spark something, if her presence can still register, if she can still be desired by eyes that are not yours. In her bathroom mirror, she may no longer recognize the vibrant woman she once was. She sees a reflection dulled by routine, by expectation, by the unspoken weight of everyday life. But in the gym, surrounded by admiring glances, subtle compliments, and the attentive guidance of a personal trainer, that forgotten spark can very easily reignite. It's not necessarily a calculated plan for infidelity. It's a visceral, emotional need to feel like a woman again. Let me share a story. a truly poignant one told to me by a 59-year-old man. A story that echoes in my mind to this day. He recounted, with a mix of sorrow and bewilderment. My wife started smiling again, but it wasn't with me. After 3 decades of marriage, a period he believed was stable and content, his wife abruptly joined a gym. She invested in new, tight-fitting workout clothes, radically changed her diet, and began coming home later, her energy levels inexplicably higher. He, in his innocent belief, attributed it all to a commendable dedication to her health and well-being. Then, one day, completely by accident, he stumbled upon a text message. A message that erased all doubt, shattering his carefully constructed reality. It read, "I love how you look when you sweat." The sender, her personal trainer, a man 10 years her junior. In that agonizing moment, everything clicked into place. While he remained ensconced in his comfortable, predictable routine, she was already living another story, a narrative that had quietly begun between sets of squats and stretches. Infidelity rarely manifests as an abrupt, singular event. More often, it's a gradual process, a slow burn that starts with a fleeting glance in the mirror, an unexpected compliment she hadn't heard in years, a shared routine that subtly evolves into a deep, unspoken complicity. And if you, her partner, are not present, not attuned to these subtle shifts, another man most certainly will be. At that gym, she isn't just a mother or a wife. She feels desired, validated, and seen in a way she perhaps no longer experiences at home. This feeling, this renewed sense of self-worth and desirability, can be exponentially more powerful, more intoxicating, than any long-standing promise of fidelity. Now let me be absolutely clear. I am not suggesting that every woman who goes to the gym is on the verge of infidelity, or that every personal trainer is a potential home wrecker. That would be an oversimplification, and frankly, untrue. However, what I am saying is this. If she doesn't feel seen, genuinely valued, or touched with intention within the confines of her own home, she will, inevitably, seek that vital energy, that validation, that spark, somewhere else. And if you dismiss these subtle changes, if you laugh them off, if you fail to take her evolving needs seriously, then you are, in essence, laughing while another man is watching her sweat, not just from exertion, but with a rekindled desire. This is the insidious beginning, the most dangerous blind spot, the very place where it all starts, while you, oblivious, continue to believe that absolutely nothing is happening. And if you don't open your eyes and truly see it now, by the time the truth finally forces its way into your awareness, it might already be too late to salvage what's been lost. The office that never sleeps. The architecture of emotional betrayal. If the gym is the unwitting stage where a woman rediscovers her physical presence and confirms her capacity to stir desire, then there exists another space, far more subtle, infinitely more insidious, where something even more profoundly dangerous takes root: the emotional connection. It is one thing to be admired, to be looked at. It is an entirely different and far more potent thing to be truly, deeply heard. And that, gentlemen, brings us to the second pivotal point of this discussion: the office that never sleeps. That place you might dismiss as mundane, boring, a sterile environment of paper, screens, and endless meetings. Yet, within its seemingly innocuous walls, an emotional bond is quietly, painstakingly built day after day. A bond that can ultimately prove far stronger, far more devastating, than any purely physical affair. Practical psychology offers a powerful concept here: emotional transference. This is one of the most potent, yet largely invisible dynamics that can unravel a relationship. It doesn't begin with illicit touches or whispered confessions in dimly lit corners. No, it starts much more innocently, with attention. It begins with small talk, casual conversations that, over time, subtly deepen and become increasingly personal. It's woven into small, seemingly insignificant gestures. A coffee brought to her desk without her even having to ask. A genuine smile shared in passing. A quiet, "Are you okay?" That sounds far more sincere, more deeply felt than the perfunctory question posed by her own husband at home. In the demanding, often high-pressure environment of the workplace, where hours stretch endlessly, where emotions are often spilled out under pressure, and where the social masks we wear at home frequently slip, it becomes tragically easy for a woman to find what she no longer receives within her own marriage. She finds someone who listens without judgment, someone who truly sees her without the burden of expectation, someone who, without ever explicitly saying it, chooses her, validates her, and affirms her worth day after ordinary day. Many men, even intelligent and well-meaning ones, fundamentally misunderstand this dynamic. They cling to the outdated notion that infidelity is solely about bodies, about sexual acts. But that is a grave and often fatal miscalculation. True infidelity, the kind that truly shatters a soul, begins in the realm of the heart and mind, in that profound emotional connection that deepens with every private chat message exchanged, every shared moment of quiet complicity, every secret that remains untold at home but is freely, comfortably divulged at work. And when that emotional connection takes root elsewhere, it matters little how many times you mechanically utter the words, "I love you." If another man consistently makes her feel understood, feel seen, feel valued, then you are confronting a rival far more formidable than any mere lover. You are up against a confidant, a soulmate, a silent partner in her emotional world. Stoicism, that ancient philosophy of wisdom and resilience, teaches us an essential truth: not to place our worth, our emotional well-being, in things that lie beyond our control. Yet, so many men, without even realizing it, have slowly, almost imperceptibly, ceased nurturing the vital emotional connection within their own homes. Their focus shifts entirely to the external, working tirelessly, providing for the family, solving practical problems, fixing tangible things. And while they are diligently engaged in these necessary, albeit often emotionally distant tasks, their woman begins to feel an insidious emptiness. Not an emptiness of material possessions, but an emptiness of meaning, of purpose, of being truly, deeply connected. And then he appears, the co-worker. He makes no grand, sweeping promises. He doesn't offer a dramatic escape. He is simply there, present. He listens. He understands. He validates. He makes every otherwise mundane workday feel less like a chore and more like a quiet escape, a sanctuary where she is genuinely appreciated. Do not, under any circumstances, underestimate this profound danger. Because when a woman connects emotionally with another man, her loyalty, the very bedrock of your relationship, is already fractured. Even if she continues to sleep beside you in your bed, her emotional allegiance has already shifted. And if you persist in acting as if it's nothing, if you mock her work buddies, if you foolishly believe you hold the upper hand simply because you are her husband, you are committing the most common, most devastating mistake. You are trusting the contract of marriage over the living, breathing connection that sustains it. What is truly at stake here is not merely respect. It is the fundamental place you occupy in her inner world, in her heart and mind. Because if someone else begins to fill that sacred space, even if only with words, with understanding, with empathy, then you are no longer an active participant in her evolving story. You are merely a part of her schedule, an item on her to-do list. And when that happens, the question is no longer if she will cheat, but merely when. Because once the emotional bond is severed, once that vital connection has withered and died, the physical act of infidelity is, chillingly, only a matter of time and opportunity. The usual coffee shop, the quest for silent validation. Following the gym where physical desire can subtly reignite, and the office where emotional bonds are painstakingly forged, we arrive at a third space, one that appears utterly innocent, even benign. And it is precisely this veneer of harmlessness that makes it so exceptionally dangerous. We've now reached the third critical point in this journey through the unseen beginnings of infidelity. And here, things begin to shift with a quiet, almost imperceptible momentum. The usual coffee shop. This is that seemingly innocuous place she mentions she goes to clear her mind, to read, or simply to be alone. But in a chillingly subtle reality, she's actually rehearsing something far deeper, far more primal. Her enduring ability to still be seen. Because a woman who feels perpetually ignored, whose presence is taken for granted at home, doesn't necessarily need to be desired immediately. What she truly, desperately needs is to know that she can still be noticed. Consider the environment of a coffee shop. It is far from a neutral space. Instead, it serves as the perfect, low-stakes stage for unplanned encounters, for casual, fleeting conversations, for guilt-free glances exchanged across tables. It's a place where she might dress up just a little more than usual, perhaps not overtly, but with a subtle, extra touch of care. She selects a table with good lighting, positions herself just so, sits alone, yet her phone is always within reach, and her lips are carefully painted, her hair styled. Is she genuinely there solely for the book she's brought? Or the latte she's sipping? Perhaps in part. But a deeper, often unconscious motivation is at play. She is there to test the waters, to see if she can still attract a man's gaze, and to observe if anyone at all, truly reacts to her presence. The core issue here isn't her natural desire to feel attractive or appreciated. That is a fundamentally human need. The true problem, the insidious root of the danger, is that you, her partner, have become so comfortable, so complacent, that you fail to notice she is now actively seeking this essential validation elsewhere, because she no longer consistently finds it with you. Here's a practical, actionable strategy you can begin to apply today. You don't need to resort to following her or spying on her. That path leads only to distrust and resentment. What you do need is to cultivate the acute ability to read the subtle changes in her behavior, her routines, her emotional barometer. When a woman starts frequenting these kinds of public, often solitary, places more often, when her established routine subtly shifts without a clear or compelling reason, do not immediately accuse her. Do not confront her with suspicion or anger. Instead, observe. Ask open-ended questions calmly, gently, and most importantly, reappear. But this reappearance isn't about showering her with superficial flowers or making empty, insincere promises you have no intention of keeping. It's about reappearing with genuine, focused attention. It's about bringing your authentic, present, masculine energy back into the relationship, an energy that doesn't beg for her affection, but also doesn't simply disappear into the background. The logic underpinning this strategy is deceptively simple, yet profoundly powerful. When a man consciously reclaims control of his presence, When he embodies his authentic self with intention and purpose, he becomes undeniable. This isn't achieved through pleading or desperate attempts to win her back, but through a quiet, unwavering emotional authority. Think of it like a lighthouse piercing through a dense, disorienting fog. She might be tempted by other flickering lights, by transient distractions. But if you shine with a clear, unwavering purpose, with genuine presence, she will inevitably notice the profound difference. For this to happen, you need to relearn how to truly observe her. You must stop making the dangerous assumption that she is still fully with you just because she continues to sleep in your bed or share your home. Because if her mind, her emotional landscape, is already metaphorically sitting at another table, in another cafe, engaged in another conversation, then you are no longer truly there, even if you physically occupy the same space. Let me paint a vivid, perhaps unsettling, picture. Imagine a woman who, for years, confined her outings to work and essential errands at the grocery store. Now, suddenly, she develops a weekly ritual. She needs to think or get work done at a different trendy cafe each week. She's taking selfies, carefully crafting captions with deep, introspective quotes. She starts wearing that dress she once reserved exclusively for special occasions with you, but now she wears it to go out, alone. She is not doing this randomly, on a whim. She is doing it because someone, at some point, made her feel like this is a place, a scenario, where she can be seen, noticed, and validated again. And if you fail to notice this fundamental shift, if you neglect to reclaim the emotional ground you have, however unknowingly, abandoned, you will eventually find yourself a bewildered bystander, watching as another man's appreciative gaze brings her back to life. All while you still cling to the illusion that everything in your world is perfectly under control. If this content, this raw, unfiltered truth, is opening your eyes to things no one has ever dared to tell you before, if it's sparking a flicker of recognition within you, then I urge you, subscribe to the Stoic Love channel right now. Don't let this clarity fade into the background noise of everyday life. This channel is a sanctuary for men who refuse to live asleep. And while you're at it, please leave a like on this video. It helps us reach more men who desperately need to hear these truths. I'd also love to know, which country are you watching from? Drop a comment below with your nation, because there are still more subtle, more intimate places ahead, places where the threads of loyalty can fray, and the last one, believe me, might be the most unexpected, and perhaps the most painful of all. Your journey of awakening starts here. Late-night social media. The digital erosion of intimacy. We've explored the physical allure of the gym, the emotional pull of the office, and the subtle quest for validation in the coffee shop. But now, we delve into a realm far more intimate, far more insidious, where desire quietly, invisibly, comes back to life without anyone, especially you, ever noticing. It's not in the bustling world outside, but deep within the glowing screen she holds. We've reached the fourth critical point in this discussion: late-night social media. This is that digital corner she retreats to once you're asleep, or simply too preoccupied to notice. It's a carefully curated world where filters smooth out wrinkles, where conversations can be edited and refined, and where nostalgia becomes the perfect, guilt-free excuse to cautiously reopen doors that, for the health of your relationship, should have remained firmly shut. Here, we confront one of the most common and perhaps most damaging mistakes that mature men repeatedly make: the ingrained belief that if there is no physical contact, then there can be no infidelity. This is a dangerous lie, one they repeat to themselves like a protective shield, precisely so they don't have to face the uncomfortable, often brutal truth of what is unfolding right in front of them, day after digital day. They casually dismiss the endless stream of messages as just words, the carefully selected photos as just a game, and the rekindled chats with ex-partners as things from the past. But in doing so, they miss the fundamental core truth. Every profound emotional connection, every true betrayal of trust, begins first in the mind, in the heart, and in the digital realm. And social media, in its pervasive omnipresence, provides the perfect, fertile ground to plant that insidious seed. Because in that digital world, she isn't primarily a wife, or a mother, or anyone's anything in the traditional sense. There, she can be desired, truly heard, lavishly praised, and seen through a lens of filtered perfection, all without the immediate fear of judgment or the complicated tangles of real-world consequences. And that comfort, that effortless digital validation, that intoxicating pleasure, quickly becomes deeply addictive. The problem is, in your daily routine, you often remain completely oblivious. You might rationalize it as normal for her to spend so much time glued to her phone, or to be messaging late into the night. You might even notice that she smiles at her screen more genuinely, more frequently, than she smiles at you. And because there is no tangible physical evidence of infidelity, no lipstick on a collar, no strange scent, you do absolutely nothing. But every single like, every private message exchanged, every old memory resurrected and brought back to life in a direct message is a micro-infidelity. Each one is a tiny, corrosive chip that slowly, imperceptibly, erodes the very foundation of your bond. Until one devastating day, when you finally try to win her back, to rekindle what you foolishly believed was simply dormant, she looks at you with a chilling, heartbreaking distance and utters words that will tear your world apart. I don't feel the same anymore. This insidious mistake, this mental trap, creeps into your relationship almost invisibly. It convinces you that you only need to worry, only need to take action, if there's demonstrably someone else in your bed. But the betrayal, the true fracturing of loyalty, began long, long before that. It began when she stopped sharing her deepest thoughts, her vulnerabilities, her everyday triumphs and struggles with you, and instead began sharing them, however subtly, with someone else. It began when she instinctively reached for her phone, not for you, in search of a message, an emoji, a digital interaction that made her feel alive, desired, understood, all while you were just steps away, comfortable in your assumption that everything was perfectly fine. And that self-deception, that deep-seated unwillingness to confront or cause discomfort for fear of appearing controlling or needy, makes you a silent, unwitting accomplice in your own emotional replacement. The consequences of this digital erosion are absolutely devastating, because when a man fails to recognize and address the insidious creep of emotional disconnection, he becomes utterly powerless to halt the inevitable physical one. And everything that was once unequivocally yours by virtue of your shared presence, your commitment, your life together, slowly, tragically, becomes someone else's by virtue of their digital connection, their emotional resonance. However, this isn't an instruction to snoop through her phone, to become a jealous detective, or to confront her in a fit of baseless anger. No. This is about doing what most men in their modern complacency have tragically forgotten how to do. To reconnect through strength, through a grounded, assertive emotional masculinity that doesn't seek to control, but which absolutely, unequivocally sets clear, healthy boundaries. Because a woman who is constantly receiving validation, attention, and emotional stimulation online, but none whatsoever in her own home, will eventually, inevitably, leave. Even if her physical body remains beside you, her heart, her mind, her deepest desires will no longer belong to you. Do not dismiss this simply because it seems intangible, invisible, or just online. This digital erosion might be the most corrosive form of infidelity of all, precisely because it destroys from within, silently, gradually, with emojis, with snippets of nostalgia wrapped in subtly flirtatious phrases, with a private smile that is no longer meant for you. And if you don't awaken to this reality now, if you don't choose to see and act with wisdom, by the time you finally do, there might be nothing left to salvage. No words, no connection, no respect, just a hollowed-out relationship, and a woman who became addicted to feeling wanted in a place where you don't even emotionally exist. The entanglement of undeserved jealousy, the trap of emotional control. We've explored the gym, the office, the coffee shop, and the digital shadows of social media. Each space, in its own way, offers an avenue for desire, connection, and validation to awaken outside the primary relationship. But now, we step into a profoundly different, often baffling, and deeply toxic dynamic. One where infidelity isn't just a possibility. It's a carefully disguised, insidious entanglement. We've reached the fifth crucial point in this discussion. When she exhibits jealousy without any genuine right or reciprocal commitment. This might sound utterly absurd, even contradictory. How can a woman, especially a married woman, display jealousy towards other men, treating them as if they belong to her, when she herself is unwilling to make any real sacrifices or commitments for them? The answer lies in a dark corner of human psychology. She wants it all, without having to let go of anything she already possesses. She wants you, your attention, your validation, your energy, but only when it's convenient for her, only when you're available to serve her emotional needs. Here's how it plays out. When you laugh freely with someone else, when you feel truly unburdened and at ease, when your attention isn't exclusively focused on her, she gets upset. And that upset, that surge of irritation or possessiveness, does not stem from love, from genuine affection, or from a desire for an exclusive relationship with you. No, it stems from ego. It comes from an insatiable need to maintain emotional control over a man who isn't even truly hers, to whom she owes no true fidelity or commitment. This kind of relationship, or rather, this toxic dynamic masquerading as a relationship, does not begin with overt betrayal. It begins with a trap, subtly laid. She skillfully positions herself as the absolute center of your validation. Her moods, her capricious reactions, her elusive approval begin to dictate your entire day, your emotional state, your very sense of self-worth. And without even realizing the chains being forged, you gradually begin to live solely to please her. Not because she is your committed partner or the woman you're building a life with, but because she has you emotionally hooked, ensnared in her web of conditional attention. You may not be with her in a committed sense, but you are also no longer truly free. And that, my friend, is arguably the most debilitating, soul-crushing place a man can find himself. Trapped in a relationship that doesn't exist in reality, but which relentlessly drains all your desire, all your vital energy, and ultimately, all your self-respect. The consequences of this emotional entanglement are brutal and far-reaching. You slowly become insecure, riddled with self-doubt, and pathetically dependent on her fleeting attention. Every innocent conversation you have with another woman makes you feel inexplicably guilty. Every silence from her, every missed text, feels like a profound betrayal, a punishment for an unknown transgression. Your entire self-esteem begins to orbit precariously around her capricious attention, her validation, her whims. And here's the cruelest, most agonizing part. She continues on with her life, with her husband, with her established routine, completely unburdened by the emotional turmoil she's sown in your life. But you are emotionally chained to something invisible, something entirely unreal, a chain you, unknowingly, chose to carry. And do you know what is perhaps the most painful truth of all in this scenario? The harder you desperately try to prove your loyalty, your unwavering devotion to her, the less she respects you. Because a woman truly does not admire a man who constantly kneels, who sacrifices his dignity for a crumb of her attention. She admires, and is drawn to, the man who possesses the strength and the wisdom to know when to confidently, unapologetically, walk away. Breaking free from this destructive pattern isn't easy. It requires immense courage and clarity, but it is absolutely possible. And it doesn't begin with angry confrontation or desperate tears. It begins with a single, profound decision within yourself, to stop asking for permission to live your own life. It begins with reclaiming your time, your desire, your sense of direction and purpose. Understand this fundamental truth. Jealousy without genuine commitment is not love. It is a crude, manipulative form of emotional control. And you, as a man of substance and maturity, are not here for that. Not at this stage in your life. Not after everything you've endured, everything you've built, every challenge you've faced and conquered. You are far, far past these juvenile games and manipulations. The mindset you urgently need to adopt is this: you owe absolutely nothing to someone who is unwilling to risk anything for you. And if she desires to control someone, let her direct that controlling energy towards her husband, towards her existing commitments. You are simply not available to be used as her emotional mirror, her convenient source of validation. Because every single time you give in to that jealousy disguised as concern, you surrender a piece of your inherent power. And when a man loses his power, his self-possession, his dignity, his unwavering sense of self, he stops being desirable. He ceases to be respected. Most tragically, he stops being himself. So do not wait for her to change, for her to magically transform into the woman you wish she were. Change yourself, not out of spite, not out of wounded pride, but out of an unshakable sense of dignity and self-worth. Because if you continue to walk this path of emotional subservience, all you will find is an endless cycle of frustration, a gnawing emptiness, and profound pain. You are not made to be someone's backup plan, a temporary emotional crutch. You are made to be a whole man, with a clear direction, with unwavering character, with a life that is simply not up for negotiation, not for a fleeting glance, not for a meaningless message, and certainly not for a relationship that leads nowhere but deeper into your own unhappiness. This is Stoic love. We're about building unshakable strength, not just in your body, but in your mind and your relationships. If these insights are resonating with you, if they're giving you that jolt of recognition you've been craving, then hit that subscribe button and become part of our growing community. We're here to equip you with the mental fortitude to navigate the complexities of modern love and connection. Share this video with another man you care about, a friend, a brother, who might also be unknowingly trapped in these emotional quicksands. Your insight today could be his lifeline tomorrow. The calculated proximity, setting the stage for the inevitable. After that charged moment of calculated proximity, when the silence between you communicated far more than any words ever could, there remains only one final, devastating step. And if you've navigated this treacherous path thus far, if you've missed the earlier, more subtle signs, if you've given in without absolute clarity and unwavering intention, then this, my friend, is the point where there is no more room for doubt, no more space for self-deception. We've now reached the sixth and deeply unsettling point in this video. This is when she actively begins finding carefully constructed excuses to be alone with you. This is the critical juncture where she stops merely playing with the tantalizing threads of desire and begins, with chilling precision, to set the stage for something more tangible, something physical. It's no longer just about lingering glances across a crowded room or whispered, intimate conversations. Now it's about strategic proximity, about palpable tension, about time spent together with no witnesses, no interruptions, no uncomfortable third parties. Because what she can no longer experience, or perhaps fears to seek, within the confines of her own home, she will, without fail, look for elsewhere. And if you are there, available, vulnerable, and dangerously naive, thinking that these carefully orchestrated opportunities are mere coincidences, then you are no longer an innocent bystander. You are already an unwitting participant in her escalating game. Picture this scene vividly. You're at a social gathering, perhaps a work event, or a casual party. There's the comforting hum of laughter, the background rhythm of music, a reassuring crowd of people around you. Then, you catch her eye. She looks at you, perhaps a fraction too long, a hint of something unreadable in her gaze. She then approaches, always with a plausible, seemingly innocent excuse. Could you possibly help me grab some ice from the kitchen? Or, would you mind walking me to my car? It's a bit dark out. Or the most direct and potent, can we just talk alone for a second? There's something I need to tell you. Her voice is softer than usual, a subtle shift in tone. Her body, perhaps, is closer than it's ever been to yours, the air between you humming with an unspoken electricity. There are no overt kisses, no illicit touches, not yet. But something far stronger, far more intoxicating, is present. A tension you can physically feel prickling on your skin. An expectation that ignites your nerves, makes your pulse quicken. A silence, profound and charged, that speaks volumes more than any words ever could. And in that moment, you find yourself utterly torn. Do you lean in, succumbing to the undeniable pull? Or do you pull back, knowing instinctively that you are on the precipice of a dangerous threshold, a line beyond which nothing will ever be the same? Because a part of you, a deeply buried part, feels desired in a way you haven't felt in years, perhaps decades. But another, wiser part of you knows, with chilling certainty, that you are entering forbidden territory. Here's the brutal truth you absolutely must internalize. A married woman who is actively seeking excuses to be alone with you is not looking for advice. She is not seeking counsel or friendship in its purest form. She is chasing adrenaline. She is pursuing that intense emotional high, that intoxicating sense of being wanted, being powerful, being alive in a way her mundane life no longer provides. And if you fail to grasp this fundamental dynamic, if you lunge at her like a starved, clumsy teenager, driven by immediate gratification, You will lose her before you even have a chance to truly touch her. Because she is not looking for clumsiness or desperation. She is, in fact, subtly, expertly testing your self-control. She is probing your ability to hold that exquisite tension without breaking it. Your skill to make her pulse race, to quicken her breath without ever laying a physical hand on her. Now, imagine the alternative. You give in. You cross that line. You kiss her. Perhaps she responds, gives in to the moment, and the very next day, everything changes. She stops responding to your texts or calls with the same alacrity. She stops looking for you, because what she wanted wasn't necessarily the act itself, the physical intimacy. What she craved, what she was truly after, was the power. She wanted to feel chosen, to prove she could still break the rules. And you, in that moment, were merely the confirmation. You were not the prize. You were not the chosen one in a deeper sense. You were simply a mirror, reflecting back to her the image of a desirable, powerful woman. And when you cease reflecting that image, when your role as the catalyst for her thrill diminishes, she vanishes. She moves on, perhaps to the next man who can offer her that same intoxicating validation. This is precisely why this point isn't just about being acutely alert to her actions. It's about cultivating and maintaining a clear, unwavering mindset. It demands a firm, grounded, masculine perspective. It requires knowing, deep within your core, that your time, your presence, your energy are not free commodities to be dispensed casually. You are not simply available to any woman who happens to be experiencing an emotional void. You understand that you do not move with blind temptation, but with deliberate, conscious intention. Because the man who possesses the self-control to manage and hold the tension, the man who masters the art of deliberate restraint, is the man who ultimately controls the scene, the dynamic, the outcome. And the one who gets carelessly swept up in the immediate thrill, the one who succumbs without conscious thought, ends up as nothing more than a fleeting memory. Just another one in a long line of validations for her ego. So the next time a married woman subtly, strategically tries to get you alone, don't just think about the potential pleasure, about what could happen. Think about the profound, often devastating, cost to you if you are not absolutely clear in your intentions and your boundaries. Because the most expensive mistake isn't the fall, the actual physical act of betrayal. It's the precious, irretrievable time you will spend desperately trying to fix, to mend, to repair what you should have never, ever allowed to begin in the first place. Chaktai, your own home, the final betrayal of presence. After that charged moment of calculated proximity, when the silence between you communicated far more than any words ever could, there remains only one final, devastating step. And if you've navigated this treacherous path thus far, if you've missed the earlier, more subtle signs, if you've given in without absolute clarity and unwavering intention, then this, my friend, is the point where there is no more room for doubt, no more space for self-deception. We have arrived at the seventh and most heartbreaking point in this video. Your own home. Yes, your home. The very sanctuary where you believe you are in ultimate control, where you lay your head down to sleep soundly at night, where you naturally assume that nothing, absolutely nothing, could possibly go wrong. This is, tragically, often the final stage where infidelity doesn't just begin, but is fully realized. And not because she meticulously planned it to unfold within those familiar walls, but because you are no longer truly there. You might be physically present, your body occupying the same space, perhaps even the same bed. But emotionally, mentally, you, as a vibrant, engaged partner, have been gone for a very long time. Your home, that sacred space that once belonged equally to both of you, that was once a vibrant crucible of shared experiences, laughter, and deep connection, has slowly, insidiously, devolved into nothing more than a routine, a place of silence, of unspoken grievances, of endless distractions, of pervasive exhaustion. She moves from one household task to the next, a silent automaton, and you, equally disengaged, drift from one glowing screen to another. And between the two of you, in that vast, growing chasm of emotional absence, there is simply nothing. No more surprise touches, no more unexpected words of endearment or genuine interest. Just duties, roles, obligations, a transactional existence masquerading as a marriage. And in that profound, echoing emptiness, you don't need someone to literally knock at your front door for infidelity to walk in. Because often, it's already there, not in a physical form, but in her mind, in her secret desires, in the silent, yearning messages she sends out to the universe, to anyone who might listen, in her desperate need to escape the emotional void, even if her physical body hasn't yet taken the definitive step of leaving. And you, oblivious and comfortable, continue to act as if everything is perfectly fine, as if marriage is some unbreakable, immutable contract, as if your role as the tireless provider somehow grants you an impenetrable shield of immunity from emotional decay. But the raw, unvarnished truth, the one that's hardest to swallow, is this: when a woman no longer feels truly desired, truly seen, truly cherished in her own home, in the very space she inhabits with you, she no longer needs grand excuses or elaborate justifications to seek that vital spark elsewhere. She simply needs an opportunity. And if you haven't acutely noticed her gradual, heartbreaking drift, it's because you stopped truly seeing her a long, long time ago. Your gaze, once filled with affection and curiosity, has grown dim, focused elsewhere, taking her presence for granted. This isn't about wallowing in self-blame or allowing guilt to consume you. No, this is about a brutal, necessary awakening. Because if there is one thing that can still be salvaged, one profound crack in the foundation that can still be mended, it is this. But understand, it won't be fixed with a bouquet of hastily bought flowers or with empty, insincere apologies that carry no genuine weight of change. It is fixed only with real, visceral transformation. And that profound transformation begins when you, as a man, accept the uncomfortable truth that no one, absolutely no one, is going to magically bring back the desire, the passion, the connection, unless you consciously, actively reclaim it for yourself. You don't need to be 20 years younger to do this. You don't need to suddenly achieve a state of unattainable physical perfection. What you do need to be is fundamentally aware. You need to be deeply, unequivocally present. You need to reconnect with and embody your authentic, powerful masculinity. You need to reclaim your voice, the voice that speaks with conviction and purpose. You need to reclaim your gaze, the gaze that truly sees and acknowledges. And you need to reclaim your direction, the unwavering path you forge for your life. Because if you don't step up, if you don't willingly, proactively fill that void you've allowed to grow, someone else or something else inevitably will. Don't wait for everything to utterly collapse around you before you decide to move, before you decide to act. Look around you. Truly look. Look at your woman, not just with your eyes, but with your heart, with your deepest intuition. Look at yourself, honestly, critically, and then ask yourself a question with unflinching integrity. Am I genuinely living like a man of purpose, of presence, of strength? Or am I merely surviving, drifting through life, passively allowing circumstances to dictate my existence? Because infidelity, in its most profound sense, is rarely the start of the problem. It is almost always the devastating symptom of a deeper truth, a truth you stubbornly refuse to see, to acknowledge, to confront in time. And if, after everything you have heard in this discussion, you still cling to the belief that the danger lies solely out there, in some external threat, then you are tragically, catastrophically wrong. The real, most devastating danger is right inside your own home, in the dangerous delusion of believing nothing is happening, when in reality, you may have already lost everything that truly matters. If you've made it this far, if you've absorbed every uncomfortable truth, every revealing insight, it's not by accident. It's because something deep within you is no longer willing to live a life of passive surrender, of quiet desperation. It's because you possess a rare courage, a courage that not everyone can muster, to listen to what no one else dares to say, all the way to the very end. And now, standing before you, there is a clear, undeniable decision to be made. Not for tomorrow, not for some distant, hopeful future when things get better. It is now. Because if you continue to ignore what you have just seen, what you have just heard, what you have just felt, it will only pull you deeper into a swirling vortex of frustration, of dependence, and ultimately, of invisibility. This is your moment to reclaim what you've allowed to slip away, your desire, your direction, your unyielding power. No one is going to hand it back to you unless you consciously, resolutely claim it. This video isn't a comforting pep talk designed to make you feel good. It is a mirror, a stark, unflinching mirror that might make you profoundly uncomfortable, but which also possesses the unique power to awaken you, to snap you out of your slumber. And if you have watched it through to the very end, then you are already part of a truly rare, exceptional group. A group of men who adamantly refuse to stay numb, who possess the audacity to truly see, to truly understand. And that, precisely, is why I want to know where you are watching from. Drop a comment below with your country, and just one short, clear, direct, and powerful phrase. I act with wisdom. Because that phrase isn't just a simple statement. It is a decisive step, a deliberate break from willful blindness, a conscious, empowering choice to live awake. I'm Celia, and this is Stoic Love, a channel meticulously crafted for men who utterly refuse to grow old, diminished, dulled by complacency, or manipulated by the unseen forces around them. Men who, with courage and conviction, want to reclaim respect in their homes, in their relationships, and most importantly, in their very souls. Here, at Stoic Love, you will not find sugar-coated phrases, convenient excuses, or easy answers. What you will find is precisely what you need: clarity, unwavering presence, and profound courage. If that powerful message resonates deeply within you, subscribe now. Join this rapidly growing community of men who have consciously chosen to live awake, to live with purpose. Because perhaps what you have learned and integrated today is precisely what another man, somewhere in the world, desperately needs to hear tomorrow. Don't just keep this wisdom to yourself. Share it. And don't leave just yet. The conversation, the journey of self-discovery, isn't over. As this video concludes, 2 more powerful videos will immediately pop up on your screen. One will make you profoundly uncomfortable. The other will squarely confront you with an inconvenient truth. Choose the one that hurts more, the one that makes you squirm, the one that challenges your deepest assumptions. Because right there, in that discomfort, in that moment of challenge, that's precisely where real, lasting change truly begins.